David, how were you encouraged, strengthened by working on this sermon?
The reminder of the need for being able to admit that you're wrong as a leader.
Yeah. Caleb?
Dave, thanks for preaching. I especially appreciate the word about take seriously, kind of not becoming like Saul. And anyway, it was helpful wording.
I think it did. It's just a good call and just a good word of just like feeling that weight of like we've got souls that are in our care and their faith journey that they're on, like the make or break, the intro you had there, just like put the weight of that was good.
Yeah, for me, again, just a reminder of the gravity and that the people are the end, they're the goal of the ministry, right? And so we should be spending ourselves for their benefit rather than spending them like for our own.
It's a good line. I'm putting it in the manuscript.
Well, in my case, Dave, you made me think and reflect about what kind of leader I am being now and what kind of leader I want to continue being. So if I want to be the kind of leader that preserves life through ministry, I have to see Jesus and abide in Him.
All right. Dave, what are areas for improvement on this sermon?
I felt like at the last part, since we had done so much, I should have gone back and reread those 3 verses. I think that would have been helpful.
Okay. All right. Caleb?
One thing I have here, Dave, is, or first just a question, with your homiletical points, what exactly were they? Portrait of a godly leader, portrait of ungodly leader?
Yeah. And then it's like, we return to the portrait of a godly leader who's fallen short.
Okay. I like the portrait bit. I guess in the middle of the sermon, I was thinking, oh, maybe he could have reworded the homiletical points to show how it's supporting, but just that's an opinion. Yeah.
I confess, I didn't really see a lot that was wrong with this. It just was communicated well. Your points are clear. I think it was backing up the aim of your thing was, this call to as we serve the people and preserving life. And so I feel like I'm just nitpicking. Maybe the gospel connection could have been maybe a little stronger in there.
I thought you had an opportunity when you moved from your first point to your second point to have a better transition. So you kind of finished this one point, like he preserves by protecting, but he preserves lives by protecting his people and like giving them value and worth. And you were like, and as we continue.
Yeah, so help me smooth that out.
So what are you trying to say? Like, you have a contrast really hard at the end of your second point, which was, I think, the best part of your sermon. But here you could be like, well, what would the opposite of this be?
Right.
So it doesn't have to be big,
Yeah.
but something where you like problematize it, where since you're trying to set up the contrast, instead of just be like, and next, right?
Right.
Or it could be like, and now the camera cuts, and actually we go from what seems to be a warm, kind scene to a very different one, and you kind of leave it hanging. Just something to say like, it's not just A and then B, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So that was an opportunity for a better transition there, to heighten what you were doing. David?
Yes, why did you not mention the verses 20 and 23 at the beginning when you point to us the way that you're going to take to preach this passage?
Yeah, I decided not to do that because the first two are clearly contrasting. Even though the third one is still contrasting the second one, there's more nuance to it. And so it just seemed easier to just put like the two things up front and then just come to that at the end. And like that third point, like, because I don't really have a traditional conclusion. So that third point / gospel connection at the end there is also functioning as my conclusion. So that's why I decided to do it. It might have been the wrong choice, but that's how I decided to do it.
Caleb, you got another one?
Yep. Regarding your third point, Dave, I personally, I wasn't convinced that David had done wrong. The way it came across to me was like, I had a question, did David sin here? And then I know you built the application from that of leaders need to own their wrong.
Yeah.
So I was a little, I don't know if that was what exactly you were trying to say, but it kind of got me stuck there.
Yeah.
So the application didn't land on me as strong.
Yeah. That's good.
All right, I agree with that. I wasn't sure if he was just like, oh man, this is the result of me visiting there, or like, man, I did something bad that I shouldn't have done.
Right.
And it seemed like you were approaching it like, David, yeah, he did something wrong, rather than there was a tragic result to him like receiving this help.
Yeah. And I guess like an actually good way or better way to go about that would be being like, look, he seems to be owning it. It's kind of ambiguous about whether or not it's directly sin or not.
Right.
But either way, right, there are times
There
where
you
you
go.
don't sin.
Perfect.
He took the
Yeah, where
Yeah.
you don't sin, but like the impact of our actions is still,
Right.
damaging.
Right, and that actually even heightens your point, right? So
Right.
you can see that, like, even if this wasn't a sin,
Right.
like he didn't do anything morally wrong,
Yeah.
he's still recognizing that there were negative effects for his people, and that he's actually vowing for their good coming out of it, which
Right.
heightens the point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that could be a way to do it. Andre, you got another one?
I don't have no.
All right, I can take two.
I have another idea too. Yeah.
I thought you could have just put us more in the text. I think you only had us look down at the passage like one time. You were like, look at verse 2. It's not just his family that comes. Who is it? And it was like all these other people. And I just don't remember a whole lot of other times where like I was occasioned to like have to see in the passage, like it having this inartistic proof, like, look at Doeg, right? Even if it's just something simple, like, look at what Doeg does. Like, nobody else will do it, and Doeg's like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't know that you need to, I'm obviously not saying you need to do this everywhere.
Yeah.
Did everybody else have a similar thing? Like, I just felt like there wasn't, I didn't think what you were saying was atextual. I just didn't think you like put our eyes on a lot of
Yeah.
what you were doing.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. All right. The other thing I wanted to say, you didn't seem to have your normal energy in your tone and presentation as
Yeah.
normal. So it would like come up at points, and again, from your transition after your second to your third was a highlight in terms of energy and volume dynamics and intensity.
Were you purposely doing that?
I think like because that's something that I struggle with like on these heavier texts.
Yeah.
Like even my intro is somewhat lighthearted, and then it's like, oh, this is gonna get really
Right.
dark really quick.
So I felt like you were trying to match the text, and
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily even mean loud or excited, but there can be energy even if you talk about doing like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just variety, either
Yeah.
in terms of tone, pace, speed. You might talk really quick for a few minutes and then pull it back. I mean, so there was just a lack of vocal energy. I mean, that's a small presentation thing, right? But don't forget, 69% of what is communicated from the pulpit is not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
69%. So it matters.
Who says that?
Mike Bullmore. It was a PhD in rhetoric from Purdue, so he probably knows a few things about. No, not Purdue, Northwestern. Like he went to he didn't go to a Christian school. He went to a real school. David, you got on?
I
Gotta edit that out of the
the
video.
conclusion felt a little bit rushed.
Yeah, I can figure that out.
You had a couple minutes.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if you like could have tied in like your opening intro
Well,
kind of thing. Or
And again,
something.
like it kind of came down to tone for me,
Okay.
where it was just like, yeah, I could use some, I could obviously find an illustration in history, film, or literature of this, but it just would have felt, I don't know, trite, I guess, given the tone. But yeah, I didn't know what to do with the conclusion, honestly. So.
What were a couple things that you were happy with how they came out? What did you do well? What did you try that was new?
I felt like I was talking to you guys more. I felt more present than I have in the past.
Okay. Great. That's important. Caleb?
Dave, I thought the way you applied salt to us was really strong, and also conceding, the fact that we wouldn't think we'd be as extreme as him, but then showing
Yeah.
we can become something we wouldn't never think we would become. That
Yeah.
was really strong.
Yeah, that was great. You didn't just let it be the enemy. It was like, okay, you might not think this is you. He didn't think it was him either. That was a strong argument. Refutation, concession, boom. Andre?
Yeah, I thought you were really connected with us well, and it's to me it seemed like you purposely really slowed down in this sermon, and you purposely tried to stay more in line with the tone of the text, and I appreciate that.
So as bad as your first transition was from point 1 to 2, your second point was the exact opposite.
I need to find a happy medium.
Right? Because it comes right off of this thing, like how did it come to this? Problematizing with the question, right? Going in there, conceding, refuting. And then you're like, so lead like your life depends on it. So you pulled in your title that, and you said if you disregard life, right? And then this tamarisk thing was a great exegetical insight. And then you like ran through a few of the contrasts between the two guys so far. And I was like, beautiful. You told us you were going to contrast these two portraits. You just did contrast them. Now you're reminding us of the salient points of that contrast, and now you're moving to the gospel, right? So your transition there, that was the high point of the sermon in terms of energy, clarity, bringing it all together. That was well done.
So I really liked the applications you gave to us, and there were very personal applications for pastors and very appropriate to us. Thank you.
Caleb?
This is a smaller detail, but I like that you brought in analogies to kind of our world, things that are more accessible to us, like the job. Comparisons just makes it more accessible. That's good.
Yeah, I liked how just you were clear in what you were saying, and just the callback to, because I saying that preserving life and like your aim is always about out in front, and just did a good job communicating.
Your gospel connection reinforced your aim. It didn't abort it. So you said like, we're supposed to be laying our lives down for people, like to protect them, and Jesus did that. But you didn't say like because Jesus did it, we don't have to. You said like because He did it, like that's exactly what we're also supposed to be doing. We don't have the same results, but it's still like protecting life, and so you use that in a way that advanced your argument and heightened application in important ways. And John 10 is a good.
Also, I like the clarity of your title, your main point, and your homiletical points.
And I think, I don't know, I'm still thinking about your thing on the tone. remember, what's the what the tone is all dependent on what you think the main point is.
Mhm.
So what's the point? If the point is lead,
Yeah.
like somebody's life depends on it,
Mhm.
what is actually the tone of your sermon going to be if that's your
Yeah,
like,
that's
main
good.
point argument, right?
Yes.
That's a good point.
It's going to be a tone of urgency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
Right. That's a really good point.
So it is somber in that like 85 priests and the town got wiped out. But-
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you guys.